Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, spiders, icemen, romance, and the most depraved book ever written. It's my weekly wrap-up. So before I start, just wanted to touch on the weather in North America at the moment. So conscious that a lot of my subscribers are from either the US or Canada, and it sounds like the weather is absolutely horrific out there at the moment. So I hope everyone watching this is keeping safe, keeping warm, and that you're not too badly impacted by the winter storms that are happening at the moment. So let's talk about, before I talk about the books, let's talk about some other stuff. So firstly, it's been a bit of a nightmare week. So I've been off work, which has been lovely. So I've had some nice time with my family, and I've got a lot of reading done as well. So I've got a lot of books to talk about today. I mentioned in a video a little while ago that our washing machine had broken. The guy finally turned up to fix that yesterday, and left saying he'd fixed it, and we then went to do a wash, and it's still not working. So I spent most of the afternoon trying to get someone at the company to get me in touch with him to get him to come back, and completely failed to do so. I spoke to about 6 different people. I just got passed around to different parts of the company. So it was a complete nightmare, and we are without our washing machine, and our fridge is broken as well now. So I've been round to our neighbours this morning, and our turkey for Christmas is now in her fridge. So yeah, it's been a bit of a week with one thing and another. Some kind of health stuff going on in the family as well, which is not great. So it's not been the most restful week. But as I say, I have got a fair bit of reading done, and at least I'm not having to contend with the horrific weather that people in some parts of the world are at the moment. It's actually really mild here in the UK now. We did have a cold snap, but it's very mild for this time of year at the moment. So one other thing before I get to the books. So I am probably going to do a live tomorrow on Christmas Day. But I thought it would be a nice thing to do. I know there are a number of people out there who are, having a quieter Christmas, or who may be alone at Christmas. So I thought I would do a live, and we can just kind of hang out and maybe do like a reading sprint or two as part of it. Now, having said that, anyone who's watched the channel for any length of time will know I have a real fear, a real anxiety about doing lives. I've never done one, so there may be all sorts of technical issues, and I may bottle it at the last minute as well. But that's my intention. So that will be at probably either 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. UK time, which is kind of morning, earlier in the morning in the kind of west coast of the US. So I think kind of 8 o'clock ish. And then I guess 11 a.m. ish East Coast time. So we will see. But if I will try and do like a schedule thing, so you see it in your feed, and you can get a notification when it starts. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that, I've put a post about it on my community tab as well. So let me know if you think that will be something you'd like to be involved in, and the more people that are involved in it, the more chance of me figuring out the technology and doing it. Right, so anyway, let's talk about books. So I've got 10 books to talk to you about this week. So I've finished 9 books and kind of finished a 10th. So let's talk through them. So first one I finished was 120 Days of Sodom by the Marquis de Sade, which was just repellent. I mean, what a horrible book. I am going to do a review of it. I've read it for my Disturbing Books project. I mean, an interesting book, because of the history surrounding it, and the fact that it's lasted as long as it has, and it's still a book that's read today. But Jesus, what a horrible book. I mean, really horrible. So yes, I will do a video about that, sharing more of my thoughts. But definitely interesting, but also definitely not a book I'll ever read again. So the book I kind of finished was The Brothers Karamazov. I always say it wrong. The Brothers Karamazov. So I have stopped reading The Brothers Karamazov. I finished the first 2 parts of it, I think, and then thought I'll pause it and read some other things and see if I feel like going back to it. And I have not felt like going back to it. So I think I've probably DNF'd it. I just didn't feel like anything was happening. There was nothing in it that was gripping me. So yes, I think that will be one that I do not continue with. But we'll see. I may pick it up again this week. So other things then. So in terms of other things I finished, so a couple of kind of entertaining, lighter horror novels. So Clowns vs Spiders by Jeff Strand, which is a book that was recommended to me by Kelsey from the channel Slime and Slashers. So this was really fun. So it's exactly what the title says. So it's about a group of clowns who get effectively made redundant from their circus because everyone's now frightened of clowns and nobody wants to see clowns for entertainment anymore. So they start working in this kind of haunted house type place, and then it gets overrun by giant mutant spiders, and the clowns have to fight the spiders. But it was very funny in places and just really engaging and entertaining. I then also read The Howling by Gary Brandner, which I think I had read before. I certainly remember bits of it. So the werewolf novel from the 80s, the basis of the Joe Dante movie that came out in the 80s. I enjoyed this a lot. So I read this, I was chatting with Brandy from Booklectic, and she was saying she'd read it recently and she's planning on reading the following two. So there's another 2 books in the series. And it turns out I've got, and I bought it 10 years ago, I've got on my Kindle the Howling trilogy. So I've got all 3 of them. So I thought I'd read the first one, and then I think we're going to buddy read the next 2 sometime next year. So yeah, it was fun. It was an enjoyable, solid, fairly predictable, but entertaining werewolf novel about a like small town America where there's werewolfy stuff going on. So yeah, I enjoyed that quite a bit. I then read a short British crime novel by an author called Stephen Gallagher, who's one of those authors who was reasonably big in the 80s. So when British horror was quite popular, he wrote a number of kind of horror novels and suspense novels. A couple of them I think were filmed for TV over here. So he was a reasonably big deal. Not hugely famous, but certainly you always found his books in bookshops and things. And one of those people who has continued writing, but is much less well known nowadays. And I think his stuff nowadays is self-published. So this was a suspense novel by him called The Painted Bride that he wrote a few years ago. I think it came out in 2008, 2006, something like that. So and it wasn't brilliant, but it was an entertaining, diverting read. So a suspense novel about a guy about a woman who goes missing and her sister trying to find out what's happened to her. And about the impact of her disappearance on her husband and children, basically. So yeah, it was quite interesting, certainly quite gripping, but not amazing. I then read another book I've had on my Kindle for ages. So ages ago, I bought this. Like you get those kind of multi-packs of books on Kindle sometimes where an author's just trying to get their books out there cheap. So this was a trilogy of kind of sci-fi horror books. Well, not a trilogy, 3 sci-fi horror books, but they're all standalone, by an author called Brian Dunn, that I bought ages ago. The 3 books are Moon Rocks, which I had read already, Thaw, which is the one I read now, and that's THAW, as in unfreeze, and another one called Creepers, which I haven't read yet. So Thaw was an enjoyable kind of wintry book. So I read this for the kind of read a winter book prompt in the Christmas Evil readathon, about some people, and I forget now if it was the Arctic or the Antarctic, but one of those cold places at either the top or the bottom of the world, who go there and they find a figure buried in an iceberg, and foolishly defrost it, and chaos ensues. So it wasn't quite as gory and violent as it might have been, and I think it would have been more fun if it had a bit more, a few more killings, should we say. But it was quite an entertaining read. I did quite enjoy it. So getting on to physical books then. So I also read and have done a review, which has already gone up on the channel, of This Anybody Home by Michael J. Seidlinger, which is a home invasion horror novel that came out in August of this year. So quite a gripping and suspenseful read, told in an interesting style. So written effectively in the second person, and it's basically one of the people who's involved in the home invasion talking to you as the reader, and you as the reader are another person who's involved in the home invasion. So quite disturbing and unpleasant at times, but I didn't think it was as good and as gripping as it might have been. The style got in the way for me a bit. But if you're interested in it, do watch my full review on that. Also read, and I will probably do a review of this one at some point, Mina and the Undead by Amy McCaw. So this is a YA vampire novel set in the 90s. Amy very kindly sent me a copy of it. This was a lot of fun. It was really cute. I don't read a lot of YA stuff, but every so often I do, and it's always quite refreshing and fun, because YA books, by their nature, I think, tend to be quite simple, and they also tend to be kind of coming of age stories. And coming of age stories, I think, are always really satisfying. So this is about a young woman who I think is kind of 17, 18, who goes to stay with her sister who lives in New Orleans, and vampire-y stuff ensues. So she works at this kind of haunted house type place. So haunted house again, as in Clowns, Ghosts and Spiders. And one of the other people who works there gets found dead. And there's a bit of romance. There's a bit of vampire stuff. There's a bit of mystery. So all in all, it was quite satisfying and entertaining read. So I had a really good time with it. I also read Uzumaki by Junji Ito. His weird horror graphic novel about spirals. So again, I will do a review of this at some point, I think. This was really good. I have to say I slightly preferred, so I read Shiver, his short story collection, a little while ago, and I did slightly prefer that. The problem I had with this was it's a bit episodic, and I think that's kind of the nature of it, because it was originally published, serialised in a magazine, but it did feel quite episodic. It almost feels, for the first half, it almost feels like a series of interconnected short stories rather than a novel with a kind of consistent narrative going through it, and the end felt a little bit rushed to me as well. But boy, is there some weird shit in this book. It really, it's really odd and bizarre, and I enjoyed the oddness and bizarreness a lot. And then the final thing, which I've just finished, which I can't show you a physical copy of, and I can't show you a cover for, because this is an unpublished book. So this is a book called Checked Out, that was sent to me by the author, who's someone I know through work. It's not the kind of thing I read often, so it's I don't even know what you call it, a kind of a contemporary romantic comedy. So about a young woman living in Edinburgh, and so she gets made redundant at the start of the book, and it's about her trying to make a life for herself. And also, there's a significant romantic subplot running through the book as well. So I had a lot of fun with it. It was, as I say, it's not the kind of thing I normally read. The author sent it to me and some other people so we were kind of in a book group together, and asked us if we'd be interested in reading it. And as I say, not the kind of thing I normally read, but I had a really good time with it. And I wish her well with it, and I hope she does manage to get it published. I thought it was, very well crafted, and a lot of fun to read as well. In terms of currently reading then, so I'm currently reading, I just started last night, A Mission of Gravity by Hal Clement, which is, I'm reading for the Hal for the Holidays kind of reading event that Brandy from the Booklectic is running. So I've literally only just started it. I only read the first couple of chapters, so I'm not really sure what's going on with it yet, but immediately it feels quite alien in terms of like the setting and things like that. And I'm also reading again for the Christmas Evil readathon, The Best of Richard Matheson. So a wonderful short story collection so far. So I'm a little over a quarter of the way through. I've read probably 6 or 7 of the stories, and they've all been absolutely fantastic. I can see why he is so respected as an author of kind of horror and sci-fi short stories. Really great stuff so far. So looking forward to reading more of this. So also watched a Christmas horror movie this week. So my son and I watched Christmas Bloody Christmas on Shudder, which was a lot of fun. So it's about a kind of military robot that gets repurposed to be a Father Christmas to go in toy stores, and goes haywire and kills loads of people. So a very silly but entertaining kind of plot, but actually really well made, really well acted. The central female character was fantastic, and just there was a really natural feel to the kind of conversations and dialogue and things like that. So we both had a really good time with that. In terms of channel stuff then, what have we had in the last week? So I've started doing shorts again. So let me know if you enjoy the shorts I do or not. So I've started doing shorts to document the books I'm reading for the Read What You Own challenge. And I forgot to say, so I'm now, I think, at book 33. I think I've finished 33 books for my Read What You Own challenge. So I'm a third of the way through. Actually, no. It is 33. Yeah, so I finished 33 books for that. So I've started doing shorts for that every time I finish a book. And I've also started doing watch shorts again. So my other passion apart from books is I collect watches. So I've started doing shorts showing the watch I'm wearing each day, which people may absolutely hate. So let me know what you make of those anyway. In terms of kind of longer form videos on the channel then, so I did a video about trash, like the pleasures of reading trash books and why I think it's an important part of your reading diet. I did unboxing for the Abominable Book Club December subscription box. I did the Christmas Evil book tag, which was a lot of fun. I did a review of Night of the Crabs by Guy and Smith as part of my series where I'm reviewing vintage British horror novels. I did a review, as I've said, of Anybody Home. And I also did my top 10 not crime, not horror reads of the year. In the week coming up, I will do a review video, but I haven't decided what book I'm going to review yet. I'll probably do a review as well of The 120 Days of Sodom. I've got a special video which will be going up on Monday about a new project I'm doing in the new year. So I will leave it at that, but yeah, you can check that out on Monday. And I haven't decided what tag I'm going to do this week, but I will try and do a tag as well. And I've also filmed a review of the cover, the fabric cover I've got for my Kindle Scribe. So if you're interested in kind of Kindle Scribe type stuff, I'll probably put that video up this week as well. So yeah, that's what's been on the channel and that's what's coming up on the channel. Okay, time for a random book from the shelves. Today is a book I've had for ages, like years and years and years, and still haven't read. I read another book by this author, which I really enjoyed, but I've yet to get to this one. Anyway, the book is Tigerman by Nick Harkaway. So Nick Harkaway, if you don't know, is John le Carré's son, and has written a few, they're kind of sci-fi, but that doesn't quite encapsulate everything that they are, if that makes sense. They're quite strange, his books, or certainly the other one I read was. So this is a book I picked as a choice for a book club I was in ages ago, and in the end none of us finished it. I think I did start it, but I can't remember how long I got through it. So so I do need to give this a try at some point. As I say, I really enjoyed Nick Harkaway's other book I read, which was Angel Maker. So I hope you found that interesting. I should have said this at the start, but I didn't. So it's Christmas Eve today as I'm filming this, and this video will go up today. So I hope you have a wonderful Christmas if you're someone who celebrates Christmas. Hope you have a lovely time with family and friends. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, hope you're getting a bit of downtime from work over the festive period. And a sincere thank you to everyone out there for all your support this year. The channel has grown far more than I ever expected it to, and I really do appreciate people watching my videos, liking them, subscribing, commenting on my videos. I put up a post the other day, where I said I'd finally managed to catch up on comments again. It's really important to me to try and reply to all of my comments, because it's that engagement that makes me want to keep making videos. It's hearing from people about the books they're reading, what they think of the books I've been reading. It really makes the channel work for me, and it gives me an enormous amount of satisfaction to interact with all of you out there. So thank you very much for all your support and comments this year. As I said at the start, if you're in the US or Canada, hope you're keeping safe and warm. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.